Have you ever wondered how soccer players from all over the world get to play together at the highest level right away? Fellow coaches often tell me that their players don't communicate, but nobody has ever told the players how to communicate in soccer language. We all know that communication is so important, and even more when soccer players need to do split-second decision. We will talk about all the ways players communicate with each other, on offense and on defense, verbally and non-verbally, on and off the field. Timestamps are added, so jump to the section that you really want to hear. Nonverbal communication is the foundation of soccer teamwork. Even if the player is introverted or hit a shy puberty phase, there is no excuse not to use the body. It's essential because in the heat of the moment, players can't always rely on verbal cues. Whether you are playing at Wembley in front of nearly 100,000 fans, or at the local youth league in front of your parents, it can be hard to hear things. Also, your teammates might not understand well your words, or you might not want to draw attention from your opponent by yelling them. Finally, if you can communicate something with your body in a fraction of a second that might take you a whole sentence, you should do that. When defending, nonverbal cues are a huge part of guiding teammates through high-pressure situations. If you're defending and notice a potential threat from an opposing player, you can point to the area where the danger might come from. For example, you might point to the winger's space to warn a teammate to track that player. This gives your teammate a quick heads up without interrupting their focus. In situations like an overlap or underlap, where an attacker runs either outside or inside to receive a pass, pointing to your teammate's position can indicate whether they should block off a pass or cover another attacking player. If you see that you need to cover your teammate, you point at the player you were marking while having an eye contact that your teammate needs to cover for you. Finally, if you are trying to do a high press, you have to do it as a team. While you are pressing the ball and cutting off pass through the middle, you want your teammates to press the open players on the sides. Instead of saying something like, "Excuse me, Lionel and Cristiano, can you please come closer so we can press?" you just yell "Hey," and point to the two opponents while having an eye contact with your teammates. Nonverbal communication is even more important when attacking. You might have seen a player pointing or raising a hand to ask for the ball, but what exactly does that mean in different situations? When you're far from the ball and want the ball, simply raising your hand or even better pointing towards the direction you want the ball passed is often enough for the player on the ball to understand. You might also use body language to show where you want the ball played, whether that's to your feet, to your chest, or over your head. If you are not that far from the ball, you want a more accurate pass. Since you want the first touch of the ball to be right, you want the ball to be just right. If you point with both hands towards your feet, you want the ball right there, at your center of gravity. You don't plan to move with the first touch, but just receive the ball. If you want it on your right foot, then you point with your right hand to your right foot. Similar thing for your left foot, but with your left hand. Finally, if you want the ball into space because you were sprinting into open, you have to point to the area where you want it, ideally into the ground spot. There is also the most important unwritten rule when asking for the ball. Say the winger is jogging back and pointing to their feet to receive the ball because there is a clear passing lane. If their defender is not tracking them closely, then they will likely get the ball from their teammate. However, if the defender is marking them tightly, then the passer is just waiting for the cue when the winger changes direction and pace to sprint forward behind the defender. If executed well, it is impossible to defend, and it's completely nonverbal communication that has led to it. Nonverbal communication isn't just about asking for the ball. It's also about helping your teammates in real time. If a teammate is under pressure and doesn't see the whole field, you can give them guidance by pointing to open space or directing their attention to a pass they may not have seen. Alternatively, you might want the game to slow down, so you will make a gesture to calm things down. These actions take just a second but could provide a teammate with the confidence and awareness to make the right decision. Especially if you are a more experienced player, you are expected to do this and dictate the game even without passing or receiving the ball at that moment. While nonverbal communication is essential, verbal communication allows players to share vital information during the game. In high-pressure moments, quick and clear verbal cues can make all the difference. Let's break down some of the key phrases used by players in different situations. When you're defending, especially in a tight situation, clear verbal commands can help your team stay organized. Here are the 4 key words used in defense: hold, step, drop, up. Hold is used to tell a teammate to stay with the player and delay the attack. For example, if a defender is pressuring an attacker but there is nobody behind to provide cover in case they lose the ball, then a teammate yelling hold or contain will tell the defender not to challenge for the ball at the time. Step is the call when you want a teammate to challenge the ball or put pressure on an attacker. For example, if you're the defending side in a 1v2 situation, calling step tells the closest defender to engage with the attacker. It's the opposite of hold, and it gives confidence to the defender, while creating anxiety for the attacker. Drop is used when you want your teammates to drop deeper into their positions to form a more solid defensive shape. If a counterattack is coming or you're under pressure, drop or back is the signal to retreat and protect the goal. It can often be because a high pressing fell apart or because high line offside trap is not working out. On the opposite side, up is a call used when you need to push higher up the field, for example, when clearing the ball out of your defensive third and moving forward to regain possession and move the offside line higher. The synonyms are push or press, often combined with hand gestures for pushing things forward. In fact, nearly always there are hand gestures combined with the verbal cues to amplify and clarify any confusion. For example, hold can also mean hold the line for an offside trap, which essentially is still just about containing, but not the player with the ball. Having a hand gesture that shows an imaginary line will help. Another thing is that hold or stay might mean for your fellow defender to mark the player that is looking to make a run into space, so it's kind of warning for your teammate. If you point to the runner, it will be easier to clarify that. Attacking requires a different set of verbal cues to break down the opposition. Let's look at the 6 keywords used by attackers: line, square, cross, drop, man on, and turn. Line refers to the line of passing. When you're calling for the ball, you might yell line to let the ball carrier know there's a clear lane to pass to you, usually vertically forward towards the opposition goal. It's a way to communicate that you're available and there's no defender blocking the passing route. Square or switch are often used to suggest a change in direction laterally. Square is used to tell the ball carrier to pass it to a teammate at the same level as them, not forward or backward. Switch indicates moving the ball to the opposite side of the field at the same level. In both cases, the goal is to get the ball sideways and is often hard to know how much, so they are used almost synonymously. Cross is a direct call when you're in the box and want the ball played across to you from the wing. When you're positioned in front of goal, calling cross lets the player on the wing know you're ready for a delivery into the area. It doesn't really tell where they want the ball, so often you would hear first or second, which means that the open player is at the first post or the second post. If an attacker tried to go forward with the ball, but the defense has regrouped and has numerical advantage in that area, you might call for the ball to be played back to you or for your teammate to drop the ball to a deeper position. This is often used when trying to reset the attack and look for a better option. Man on is used when an opponent is closing in on a teammate with the ball from behind where they cannot see them. It warns them that pressure is coming from behind so they can take action like shielding the ball or passing to another teammate in a better position. Turn is the opposite of man on. It tells a player who is being pressed that they can turn and face the other direction. It's crucial for players to understand when they should turn and move the ball forward and advance the attack. If the player with the ball is already facing forward, but you want to tell them that there is no opposition around, you say time or calm, so that they can know there is no pressure and they can take a moment to make the best decision. During stoppages, whether it's a goal kick, throw-in, or just a break in play, communication is just as important as it is during the action. Players use this time to organize for set pieces like corners or free kicks. In attacking set pieces, they will coordinate with each other about which choreographed movement they will do as a team. That is very hard to defend because there are many moving pieces at the same time. Sometimes they might do the same movement, but will switch roles and that can create chaos. Similarly for the defense, it might be a coordination about setting up or not setting up an offside trap. Or from corners it would be about making sure that players have picked a player to mark or come to be on the first or the second post. All of this is communicated quickly with both words and gestures. For example, the goalkeeper sees that a player is not marked, so they grab one of the teammates and just says number 8 and points to the opponent with shirt number 8. This is very common and happens on nearly every corner for multiple players. If the team is adjusting its formation or strategy, players often use these stoppages to clarify roles. Coaches also use these moments to give instructions, but players themselves may call for adjustments based on what they've observed during the match. For example, the two center backs might communicate that the striker they are marking has too much space to receive the ball even though both of them are not marking them. So they will agree during a break that one of them will mark them tightly while the other one will always be the cover for balls behind. A lot of the communication among teammates happens off of the field. Before the game, there is a lot to communicate, such as team formation and tactics, individual assignments, insights of the opponents and so on. Most of it comes from the coach, but players often have some knowledge to share, too. For example, I've heard players say something like "I know the goalkeeper struggles with high crosses." While the tactics might mostly come from the coach, the motivation will mean even more coming from the players themselves. By building characters of leaders on the team, that leadership of helping and inspiring each other, but also establishing accountability in the squad, will carry itself on the field. So, as a coach, I always let the players, usually the captains, give a pre-game speech. It makes them practice public speaking in a way, it makes them better leaders and it helps the team. I often give similar opportunities at halftime and after the game, even though it might be more about reflection at that point and not as much motivation. Please note that you shouldn't expect all players to be proficient in all of this communication. They are humans first and foremost. Some of them are introverts, others of them might be going through puberty that makes them shy or aggressive. However, the minimum expectation is to have the nonverbal communication no matter how young or withdrawn they are. Some of the verbal communication is also expected, but it's important that they know what to communicate. Just a word or two would do, as we discussed earlier. The leaders of the team would need to take more responsibility in motivating the teammates, and the job as a coach is to mentor them and guide them in becoming better captains. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments if there's any aspect of soccer communication that you have found particularly useful or need something to improve upon.